Hello and welcome. He's been former Vice President of India, Chairperson of the Rajya Sabha, and now Hamid Ansari has come up with a new book on a collection of his speeches called Dare I Question. Mr. Hamid Ansari, thank you so much for joining me. You write in the preface of the book that on the last day as Chairperson of Rajya Sabha, the Prime Minister, while giving the vote of thanks, referred to you as a diplomat who had spent time in Muslim lands, as someone who had been active in working for the minorities and for Muslims, and you said that a number of serious commentators called this a departure from accepted practice. Do you have a sense of hurt at the way sections of the establishment have seen you, primarily according to your religious identity as a Muslim, when you've been a constitutional functionary, a diplomat, someone who's had long years in public service? Do you have a sense of hurt and unease about this?
No, not hurt, but certainly a concern, because if this is the direction in which perceptions are going to evolve, then it would not be the India in which I grew up and I spent 40 years in the service of the Indian state.
You addressed a meeting of the Popular Front of India, which was also organized by a think tank in Delhi, where you actually spoke about the role that women can play in building a humane society. But you were savagely criticized on social media because of you attending that function. How did that make you feel, the kind of comments that were directed at you?
Firstly, it was not a Popular Front of India, this thing. I was invited by a think tank in Delhi. It's a well-known body. And I accepted the invitation. The venue was in Calicut. Okay, fine. I traveled to Calicut. As a former vice president, when I travel, there's a certain drill which is to be followed. So the state government was informed. The state government accorded me necessary honors. They gave me a place to stay in the circuit house. I had nothing to complain about the arrangements, because these are standard arrangements whether I go to Kolkata or to Bombay or any other place. I didn't even know that this think tank in Delhi had an institutional arrangement or a occasional arrangement with a body called PFI. Yes, I had read about PFI and all that, but I didn't know about it, nor did the local officials, including the local police chief, tell me anything about it. So I went to the function. It was the usual drill. They asked me to speak. I spoke about the problems of women. I knew from visually that the audience consisted predominantly of Muslim women, and my speech was focused on Muslim women. And the point that I made there was that as far as faith is concerned, the Islamic faith enjoins Muslim men and Muslim women equally with rights and duties. And I said that Arabic is a language in which gender differentiation is very evident. And if you read the text of the holy book, it all comes out. He, she, he, she. So there is no differentiation at all. But social practice or social prejudice and tradition has introduced differentiations. These differentiations are responsible for the backwardness, socio-educational backwardness amongst Muslim women. This has to be set right. This was the sum and substance of my speech. It was well received. I said my speech. I came back to the circuit house. There were some local ministers and others with whom I interacted. Came back to Delhi. Next day I saw it in the papers. I had gone to some kind of a body which was on the wrong side of the law. I knew nothing about it. Somebody asked me on my return to Delhi, what was it? I said, here is the letter of invitation from the think tank in Delhi. That's it. Here's my text of my speech.
So, but were you taken aback at the kind of response?
I didn't know what the local politics of that organization or the politics of the state of Kerala was. But nobody told me. You see, there is a practice. If there is an apprehension, the state government itself tells you. When I send my program to the state government, they come back and say arrangements are made, or if they have any reservations, they come back and tell me what the reservations are. In this case, the state government didn't say anything. They received me. They accorded me necessary honors.
Just to link this with what you were saying earlier about the India you grew up in, do you believe that this kind of stereotyping and demonization of a Muslim public figure would not have happened earlier, and is the Muslim today, both as an individual and as a community, under threat?
Well, Muslims are concerned. I said that in my speech in Bangalore a few days before I demitted office, and I also said it in a TV interview. I said there is a sense of unease amongst religious minorities, and this is something that has to be addressed.
And how do you think it should be addressed? Do you think the words of the Prime Minister have to be stronger against the Gau Rakshaks?
Look, I am nobody to tell the Prime Minister what he should say or what he should not say. But the situation in the land is in public domain. If people are tarnished for this reason or that reason, then it is a matter of concern, because as a citizen, irrespective of my name, irrespective of my state of origin, my faith, my food habits or whatever else, I have the same rights and same duties as anybody else. I can't be deprived of it. The law makes me an equal citizen of India.
Where is the Muslim citizen of India today?
No, the Muslim citizen is still a Muslim citizen. Mind you, it is the second largest body of Muslims in the world after Indonesia. And the total number is somewhere around 188, 109.
But is she fearful? Is she under siege?
On occasions, yes. On occasions, yes. But to say that everybody is fearful, that everybody is under siege, would be an exaggeration. But there have been incidents, they have been commented on, within the country, they have been commented on outside the country, there have been editorial writings in major newspapers of the world. So, I mean, you can't deny facts.
You know, Amartya Sen said recently that the idea of India is at stake, that the inclusive, plural idea is at stake.
Absolutely. It is under stress. Because idea of India is what? Idea of India is inclusiveness. Idea of India is a plural society. The plural society was not created by law. The plural society was an existential fact on the basis of which the legal and constitutional superstructure was erected. Now, if we try to deny that or subtract from it, then we are hitting at the very core of the idea of India. Why did we give ourselves the constitutional structure that we gave in the year ending in 1949? I mean, they were wise people, experienced people. They knew Indian society very well. If they created this kind of structure, they meant it. And we practiced it for all this while. An occasional derogation from it here and there was always there. In a big society of huge numbers, these things can take place. I mean, any two people can have a quarrel, but any two people having a quarrel does not become a communal quarrel unless there is an organization interested in making it a communal quarrel. You see, I can have two people riding a bicycle on the street can collide and exchange hot words. It will end there. But if it becomes a communal situation, then obviously somebody is interested in exploiting it for an ulterior purpose. So this is what is happening. I have commented in my preface on the executive underreach. It's a phrase I have borrowed from Mr. Fali Nariman, but it is so. If the average police officer throughout the length and breadth of India is not discharging his duty in certain situations because, rightly or wrongly, he looks over his shoulder or her shoulder.
Why do you think this is happening? Is permission being given from the very top?
If not permission,
for a communal mobilization.
If not permission, certainly some form of a nod.
A nod.
Some form of a nod, which may be, call it encouragement, call it that yes, you can go ahead, I shall not look very hard at it.
Is coming from the top.
In the system. I don't know where the apex of the system is.
You have a very interesting lecture on nationalism and at the way nationalism is being interpreted. Is this increasingly bothersome to you? The way that
it is very, very much so. I think, you know, the core of what I have said in the preface to the book is this, that what are the values? I mean, I've said two things. One, what are the values which we have given ourselves And secondly, what is the institutional structure which we have created to implement those values. And now the question I ask is, which is in the title of the book, as a citizen I have a right to ask questions if I find that the objectives are not being achieved. Nationalism is one of the core issues. What is it to be an Indian? Is it the my height, my color of my the texture of my face, my language? I mean, how do you draw lines in this country? The linguistic survey gives you 100 languages, not dialects. The constitution has put down 22 languages. And you travel from length and breadth of India in any direction. Diversity is something that stares you in the face.
So nationalism today is being defined as a kind of certain idea of obedience to government, which you don't accept because you've called your book Dare I Question. Questioning is very important. You feel that this culture of obedience.
No, I go beyond obedience.
It's
not just a question of obedience to a government edict or so. A philosophy of nationalism is being pervaded, which goes against my basic understanding of what India and Indian nationalism is about. I mean, it's an old debate,
right?
Nationalism. I mean, Rabindranath Tagore said very strong words about nationalism. Because the moment you make the circle of nationalism narrow, then you end up in trouble.
When you've called your book Dare I Question, do you believe that asking questions now is becoming dangerous?
Sometimes, yes. Because my simple point is this: I am a citizen. I have a constitutional structure. If it is not delivering as per the norms laid down, then I am entitled to ask why is it not delivering.
What did you feel about the, many would say, the manufactured controversy over Jinnah's portrait?
It's an old tradition in the students' union there to honor public personalities. It goes back to 1920 when the first public personality to be honored was Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi.
Right.
Since then, a whole range of public personalities, all our national leaders, Prime Minister Morarji Desai, other Prime Ministers, Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan, Mother Teresa, they've all been honored. So, and those who are honored, their portraits are put up in a portrait gallery in the Union Building, which goes back a long, long way. It's an old building. So the portrait of Jinnah was there because Jinnah was honored there way back, long before Jinnah became the propounder of an ideology. He was there in 1938 or so.
So there's nothing wrong if the portrait is there?
Of course not. What is wrong with it? Then how can you take down other portraits? There are stone tablets on which British viceroys have propounded their views about educational institutions. Now, are you going to bring down buildings to take out stone tablets? If Victoria Memorial exists, it exists. Very few people would know why Victoria Memorial was built.
Much has been made of the law on instant triple talaq. Do you believe that within communities, within the Hindu community, within the Muslim community, that there needs to be much more openness to change?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, this thing, triple talaq, is totally un-Islamic. But it has become a social evil. It has crept into the customs. But, I mean, you look at the textbooks, look at the holy book. It is absolutely un-Islamic. You can't do that. You see, the core of the problem is patriarchy.
There are other people within communities who are resisting change.
Oh, yes, yes. But there are people who are also wanting change. This has been an ongoing battle for a long time. It will continue. But these are social practices. You cannot do it by an administrative edict. I give you an example. Marriage customs. A Hindu marriage is a sacrament. It's a religious ceremony. A Muslim marriage is a contract, which is surrounded with a form of words which looks like a religious this thing, but basically it is a contract. And in that contract, you can write your conditions. But tradition says, no, the contract shall come from X, Y, Z. There is nothing about it. I can put anything I like in the contract.
Right.
Similarly, everybody talks about triple talaq. It's a evil. No two views about it. But very few people know, and if they know, they don't talk about it, that Muslim law permits a lady to demand divorce. And
Right.
she can walk up to a judge and say, I want divorce from this person. And it becomes operative then and there, no waiting period,
So
nothing.
you didn't need this law.
Triple talaq is a social evil. You know, I don't know why it has been put in that form. Wisdom of Parliament is wisdom of Parliament. I can't be criticizing it. I was sitting there till the other day. But I mean, the point is, when you send the chap to jail, then where does the poor wife or ex-wife get her daily bread?
Let's come now to your helmsmanship of the Rajya Sabha. Do you believe, on a broader question, that the institutional integrity of Parliament itself today is being seriously undermined?
Yes, its effectiveness is undermined for the simple reason, I'll give you, there's an almost an arithmetical explanation. Parliament used to meet for 110 days earlier. Today it meets barely for 60 days, which means that the time available, in the best case scenario, no disruptions, no adjournments, nothing, is 50% of the time that used to be available earlier, which means that the lawmaking responsibility of Parliament, the accountability that the members seek from the government of the day, and discussions on issues of public interest and concern, all gets, compressed into 50% of the time that notionally should have been available to them. And if you look at our Parliament, and we are very proud of our parliamentary institutions, and compare it to other known parliaments, the number of days that the British Parliament or the American Congress sits is much more. Ours is 100, 110, it used to be. British Parliament was 125, 130 days. American Congress would be much more than that. So the point is, if you don't have time, then you cannot do the job. And if I have to do a hurried job, then you end up with a slipshod.
So who's responsible for this?
Everybody is responsible. Successive governments have responsible. Successive governments, without fail.
You would give the blame to every
Oh,
political
absolutely.
party.
I said it so many times to prime ministers of the day. Why can't you firstly create a timetable for the Parliament so that it becomes the calendar number one of the country? Then nobody can come up and say that I have to hold elections in the second week of April or third week of December.
You know, in 2011, when the Lokpal bill was being debated, the opposition accused you of playing a partisan role. Is that something that you feel dogs you, that the way in which you were accused?
It doesn't. My view was very clear, and it was finally, subsequently accepted. None other than the leader of the opposition in the House then. You see, the issue is this. Parliament is convened by the President of India on the advice of the government. When Parliament convenes, the time is indicated from this day to this day. The right to extend it or abridge it also lies with the government through the President of India. That particular thing was on the last day of Parliament. In fact, it was on the last day of an extended session.
Yes.
Normally, Parliament would end around 22nd, 23rd of December to allow Christian members to go back home for the. This was extended post Christmas by 3 days or 4 days till the 29th of December. This particular bill was on the agenda on the last day, and it extended into afternoon, evening, then into the night hours. As far as the chair was concerned, that was the last day. The chair did not have the authority to extend it. Because if you give that authority to the chair, whether it is the speaker or the chairman, then by the same logic, the chair can also abridge and then the chair becomes the government. The chair is not the government. The chair is simply a referee in a hockey match or a soccer match to see that the game is played as per the rules. So it was not within my power to extend it.
So the charge that was made against you,
It was wrong because people didn't know.
Government.
They didn't know that the last day is the last day unless extended by the government. Right. And the government was not willing to do it.
Right.
In the exchanges between members, government and opposition, one member of the government said, yes, if you accept your draft, we pass it now. And the opposition said, no, you have to take our amendments on board. There were 70, 80 amendments. There was no way by which those amendments could have been discussed, debated and approved or disapproved.
Right.
Now, I was pilloried for a little while after that,
yes.
But when the parliament reconvened for the budget session, this point was accepted.
That you could not have extended.
I could not have.
Let's come to a facet of your expertise which is not known about, which is that you are an expert on oil. What do you make of the Iran-America standoff, and what should India do?
Iran-America standoff goes back a long way because of the revolution in Iran. I mean, Iran used to be the closest ally of the United States till the revolution of 1979, and after that they've never been quite, there have been occasions when they have come close. They came close for certain tactical reasons at the time of President Reagan, at the time of President Clinton, again there was proximity. It's a relationship that is complex. For us, Iran is a geopolitical reality in our neighborhood. It is a land power on the other side of Pakistan. It is a land power on the other side of Afghanistan. It is a power in the Persian Gulf. It is a power in the Caucasus. It is a power in the Caspian Sea. It is a power in Central Asia. So when we look at totality of things, our relationship with Iran will always be a mixture of these considerations. I mean, this project which we are now on off, the Chabahar port. Our major problem in our relationship with Afghanistan, and I speak with some knowledge because I was ambassador there, is that we do not have access to Afghanistan. Pakistan is in between. We don't have access. Anything you want to do in Afghanistan has to be flown in. Then this idea came up that a port in Iran with a road access to Afghanistan is a possibility.
Right.
A lot of work has gone into this. The road has been made.
Right.
The question was of the port. The port is now in the process of being implemented. We have two interests in that port. One, it will give us independent access to Afghanistan. Secondly, it will link up with the Iranian rail network into Central Asia.
Right.
So from both angles, we would be the beneficiaries. To go through that exercise, we need a level of relationship with Iran, which is critical. I mean, government is in the best position to see what kind of pressures there are and how we will find a way out of it. This is not the first time American pressure has been applied. We'll find a way out of it.
What do you make of India's foreign policy at the moment? Do you feel that India's global, regional stature has taken a bit of a hit?
Yes, particularly in the neighborhood. I think our neighborhood policy, not our policy towards the wider world, is in a bit of an impasse. Whether it is, there's a total impasse with Pakistan. What do you do with Pakistan? Pakistan is a neighbor. A neighbor is a fact of life. You can choose your friends, you can't choose your neighbors. So how do you live with a neighbor? At peace, at war, war might look an attractive choice, not as such an attractive choice in this day and age with the technologies which are available. So what do you do? You see, the first lesson that is given in every textbook of diplomacy, which I and many others like me imbibed and practiced, is that a diplomat must never stop talking. You must continue talking because the more difficult the situation, the greater is the need of...
So India must resume talks with Pakistan.
I think so. There is no other way. What else will you do? The very fact that our national security advisors are talking means we have a judgment that at some level we will talk, but at other levels we will not talk. Now, it can be a tactical device, I don't know. Only government would know that.
It's impossible to miss that in your writings and in your thoughts, that as a citizen of India, as a constitutional functionary, as a former diplomat, as a Muslim, there is a sense of anguish that you feel about certain things, the way things are going. Do you have that sense of anguish today?
Let me begin by saying I have, you have, everybody else has multiple identities. I am a member of this club, that body, this year, come from a certain state, speak a certain language, prefer a certain kind of food. So identities, not identity. Identities is a human reality. And prioritization of one's identities again is an individual choice. Whether I go to watch a cricket match or a hockey match is my choice. I eat this food or that food is my choice. So, yes, there are concerns, but I am proud of being an Indian. I am proud of being an Indian whose faith is Islamic, and we have every reason to be proud of our... I gave a lecture a couple of months back in the Australian National University about India's contribution to the civilization of Islam. It didn't start yesterday. It started more than 1,000 years back. There's a famous exchange of letters between the Shah of Iran and Emperor Akbar. The Shah of Iran was known at that time of being very bigoted, pursuing a certain very narrow line of approach in matters of religion. And Akbar wrote to him and said, in matters of faith, a man is right or a man is not right. If he is right, God be praised. If he is not right, he should not be condemned. He should be pitied. And as far as the ruler is concerned, the ruler is should not worry about these matters. The ruler should simply concentrate on dispensation of justice.
Justice is key.
Justice is the key. Justice is mentioned in bold letters in the preamble of our constitution, and justice means comprehensive justice, not selective justice. Justice, equality, fraternity. In this land, fraternity is very important. How else do you bring a man from Tamil Nadu, a man from Punjab, somebody from Gujarat, Bengal, unless they have a sense of brotherhood or sisterhood? Fraternity is critically important. Why was it put there in the preamble? It's the last of the principles.
Mr. Hamid Ansari, thank you so much for joining me. That was a wonderful conversation. Thanks a lot.